enough. We're live enough.
Yeah,
This is
live
not
enough.
live, folks. We're not live. This is pre-recorded, and hey, maybe we'll keep doing this because it's pretty damn convenient. Um, and but this is the Digipod Pokecast show. I'm here with Milk, and we're gonna talk about Digimon and Pokemon. Probably mostly Pokemon though, because I've been playing a whole hell of a lot of Scarlet. How have
Yeah.
you been though? Let's get into that a little later. Well, let's just go straight to finding out how Milk has been.
Oh, I'm good. This is convenient. We don't have the glory of the live chat, but it's nice to do this at a time I feel just a little more awake.
Yes, I definitely feel more awake because it's not after a work day, so
Hmm.
that helps. And speaking of the chat, if if they want us to do live episodes, they can give us some incentive and chime into that chat on the live episodes, and then maybe we'll feel so inclined. But until that happens, I say we just keep planning around stuff like this because it is quite a bit easier. But yeah, I would like to have more interaction with the chat. That's aspirational at this point, though.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, but as corny as this is, and it sounds like I'm just saying it because we're on a Digimon and Pokemon related podcast, I'm very excited to hear your experience with Scarlet or Violet. Which one was it?
It's Scarlet. I went with
Scarlet.
Scarlet,
Yeah.
and let me tell you, Milk, it's been an exercise in self-control, not messaging you like a lot
Well,
throughout like the last like month or so. Which I
yeah.
know we do message about other stuff, but like I've been very conscious of like um well, not to be crude here, but blow my load before the show
Yeah.
about like what's been going on with my new Pokemon journey here. And it's just so much to tell. I don't even really know how to go about it other than um, my my first suggestion with how we can maybe format today's show would be if you just kind of want to ask me general questions
Yeah.
about Scarlet, because then I think that'll open up to where I'm at in the process with it, rather than me listing down, well, here's how many badges I have, here's how many, bosses I've beaten, that kind of thing. And we can just kind of bounce around from there. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I like that. It just small preface
Yeah.
for anyone watching who doesn't know why I'm excited and why Corey's
Yes,
like
that's probably helpful.
excited. So I'm a huge Pokemon fan. And Corey is the Digimon side of things of the Digipod Pokecast, but Corey just played Scarlet, the first mainline series Pokemon game since what was it, third gen, second gen?
Oh no, first. The
Oh,
the last the last like mainline game that I played with any consistency was Blue version.
okay.
Um, that was the last time I was really like playing it consistently as a kid. And I just kind of fell off from Pokemon after that. And frankly, never even beat it. Like I didn't.
Wow,
I'm also not a very good gamer. I think that's a big part of it.
I
That
get
that's
that.
a that's an important part of my narrative here is that I'm actually just not very good at this stuff. So um yeah, I don't have that drive to like get good at video games that much. Like I play them until they stop being fun and then I move on.
Yeah,
Um
that's their
but
point.
and that's also why I'm really drawn to the more open world aspect of like Scarlet because there's so much more going on than just battles
Yes.
and I don't know, it's so explorative and oh yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, well, to get into it first, who was your starter?
I went with Florigato. I
Okay.
went with that grass type. Here's something interesting I've found out about myself, kind of in this um, new Pokemon chapter in my life that
Yeah.
I've kind of that it should be said was very much like by way of Pokemon Go, like
Yeah.
playing that with my wife so much, and like kind of not just learning about new Pokemon, but kind of falling in love again with the old ones and that kind of thing. And in doing so, I have kind of discovered that I'm a bit of a plant daddy. I like the plant Pokemon. Didn't know that was a thing about me, but it just so happens. I think that it has more to do with the um, the majority of the designs that I've come across. I tend to lean more towards what have just so happened to be plant type Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's not even so much that they are plants, it's just those ones happen to have the most aesthetically pleasing designs to me. And I've been really enjoying that. All kind of starting with Cacnea. That
Yeah.
I think it's just the most delightful design. I can look at that for, I mean, the immediate comparison that I just had was, as far as like the beauty of the design and just the elegance, is like I compare it to like Mickey Mouse
Yeah.
in like the cleanness of everything. And yeah, no, I mean it's just it's wonderful design. So anyway, that kind of led me down like the path of like, well, I like these plant type Pokemon. I love Leafeon. Like I didn't know that there was a leaf variant, because
Yeah.
again, I've been out of the loop with this stuff. So until I evolved one in Pokemon Go, I didn't even know that was one of them. Um, so I went with Florigato with Scarlet. Very happy with my decision,
Yeah.
because I I had already evolved up to Meowscarada in Pokemon Go, but obviously that doesn't really, you don't really give you much more of the full range of what the Pokemon can do. Is just when you're playing in Pokemon Go,
Yeah, you don't see
you
all
pretty
its
much
animations. You don't spend
exactly
time with it. Like,
you don't spend time with it. Yeah,
yeah,
other than
the
like
same.
wandering around and stuff, it's
Hmm.
you're not really getting much from it. So I've been able to have a much more rounded appreciation of that Pokemon playing in the actual game. And it's awesome. It's almost to the point, and we'll get into this once we really get into like the battles that I've got to so far. Um, Almost not fun with how much it just dominates.
Oh.
Um,
Oh. Yeah.
yeah, as far as like I can kind of just blast through pretty much
Yeah.
anything in front of me. Um, but that's when I come back to like remember that it's not so much just about that to me. Um, it's more like I think I'm getting more out of just the exploring and collecting with the game rather than the battles. Although I've had a lot of fun with some battles. It's just that it has been a bit one-sided for a lot of them, like a lot of the
Yeah.
gym battles so far. And it's not even like I was like super grinding before I even started doing any gym battles. Like I felt like I was kind of going along the pace it wanted me to for a while, and I was still just like completely demolishing everything in front, which can almost not be fun. Like if I wanted more of a challenge, I think that would bother me more. But frankly, I don't even want that much of a challenge. It's just a fun game. So
It's definitely a complaint by the Pokemon community as a whole. One of the biggest things is um, the experience share, which like levels up all of your Pokemon at the same time.
yeah.
That used to be something you could toggle on and off, and now you can't.
Mhm.
So that makes a difference. And then just yeah, the lack of challenge, because the Pokemon developers have showed they can make very challenging battles. There are some points in various games that have really hard battles where their teams are built like well. um
Mhm.
because some people know the Pokemon meta, which I don't. I'm not super into the meta, but some people understand IVs and EVs and think about attack percentage, like hits and all sorts of stuff. So it's strange that this game has such a potentially complex battling mechanic. Like if you watch like actual competitive battlers, it can be kind of interesting just to see what all they think about and like how they figure stuff out. And then the games are just such baby mode, but I still enjoy them because yeah, it's not like the battling needs to be there, but that's not really like the main thing. That's the adventure, but they're
Yeah.
kind of what like makes it feel like you're actually making your way through it instead of just
Yeah.
walking.
Oh yeah.
Um,
It is a necessary component
yes,
for
yeah.
sure. Like even if the battles can be a little one-sided, and it opens itself up to um, like the surprise of getting my ass handed to me. That recently happened because I
Oh,
was lulled into this sense of like, oh well, I've just been, kicking ass, left and right, and then I like from gym battles, and everything else. And then I got to the point after. So I did all of the is it Path of Legends? It's with Arwen, where you're going to all like those. You're facing the Titans,
Yeah, the
like
big old
that
Pokemon.
whole thing. Yeah. So I finished all those, and then it gets to the point where you go to the lighthouse, and that's when you the reveal, that professor is Arwen's mom, and then you're gonna go to Area Zero? Is
Yeah.
that what it is? Okay. And before you get to do that, you battle Arwen. And
Hmm.
I expected that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then so I just jump right into the battle with the team that I have and everything, thinking that it's going to be another like total wash because every other time I've battled this guy, he's a loser. It's like he's just you're throwing the tiniest stuff out, and this time he suddenly had an amazing team. I mean, not even amazing, but just the level difference, like the disparity was so high. It was about like maybe you're around like 10 levels higher, pretty much
Yeah, he's
all
in
the
the
Pokemon.
60s.
So yeah, he's in the 60s at that point, and all of mine were pretty much firmly in 50s. I think I even had some that were like high 40. So I just didn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
But it lulled me into that because I was thinking that it was going to be another nothing battle, Um, Also, on that same note, that's been my experience with oh, I forget her name, but your rival in
No,
it,
Nimona.
Nimona. Yes. So far, every single battle has been the easiest battle. That, like, to the point where it's funny to me that the narrative is established that she's an amazing trainer,
Well, remember, she's
and
holding
and
back.
a champion. She's holding back. Exactly. That's what I keep telling myself. But why is she holding back that much? It's like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
little silly, like just with how much she's holding back. So I'm looking forward to when those battles can become challenging too. But so far, all of them have been nothing. There've really only been one gym battle that gave me any kind of challenge, and I forget which one it was. If we go through each, I'll probably remember. I'm mostly remembering just the really, really easy ones. But yeah.
Now, I'm curious, did you catch the theme um, of Arlen's battle? Like his
Um,
Pokemon team has a theme. Did you catch it?
I don't think I did because
So
I'm trying to
his
remember what he was sending out now, and I'm
so
not remembering.
he had a Greedent, a Scolvian, a the like big cubed like rock dude,
Yeah, yeah.
Cloyster, Mabostaff, and then Toadsucrul. So pretty much all his Pokemon besides the dog are food related. Like they're all like ingredients and
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
The gradient with the berries, the big old rock ice salt, you know. Um,
That's
so
fun. They're all ingredients. Yeah, because
hmm
he's a picnic guy,
yeah, yeah,
which I love. I love
yeah. Let's
that
get into
that
that.
aspect of the game. I haven't really delved into it yet.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like maybe it's just the way my brain works. I tend to like just lean into one thing at a time
Mm.
with some variance. So I've been mostly doing the gyms, but then I would kind of go off and do like a Titan thing, and I just did my second like Team Star battle.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, there's
that
not
one
many,
I was
so
exactly, yeah. So I was kind of putting those off, and so far I've just done like one little picnic just to kind of see like and kind of mess around with that, but I haven't taken any time to like really work with ingredients and like make stuff for those effects.
yeah.
Um, but I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that'll
I
be
never
fun.
messed with
Like,
that.
yeah, yeah. Eventually, I feel like I'll want to. Plus, it just seems like a fun thing to do with more people, like to get
Yeah,
on with other trainers, and yeah.
I think it's
But
really fun if you go into the picnic like after big fights though, and like just play with your Pokemon, just bond in a
oh,
sense.
I hadn't thought
Um,
about that because I feel like there are. It's been established that there are ways to like build the relationship with the Pokemon. Um, Other than letting them out of their Pokeball and wandering around with me, I'm not sure how else to really do that. Like, is there much more that you can do beyond doing like picnics? And like, what is the real effect that that has as far as like, do they just battle better? Like, or do they have more gusto? Or I don't know.
So they do get bonuses if they like you more. I think like at a certain point they get a better hit rate or something like that. Maybe crit rate goes up. I can't remember the exact details. In one of the games, and I don't think it happens in Scarlet and Violet, or maybe it does, but in one of the games, if you got their like yeah, friendship, because there's like technically a friendship and then a different stat that's similar to it. But if you got like those stats maxed, they'll actually like turn around and look at you at the start of the fight, just to
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
yeah, it was
I
a
like
fun
that.
little thing. Um, and
And I'm not
so
even sure where that friendship is like reflected in game. Like,
it's
where can
hidden
I?
typically.
It's hidden. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
I think there's always an NPC you can go talk to who will tell you, but it's hidden to keep it a little bit less of like a mechanic focused thing and more
Yes.
feeling
Yeah.
like a reflection of how you as a person have like developed a bond with these fake creatures, which I like because if there was just a bar that showed your like friendship gauge, I don't think it would be as like natural feeling, and that's what they
Yeah.
really want to go for is
Mhm.
like and that's why the percentage boost it does give you I think is really minute. It's just for a matter of like anecdotally you're like, oh wow, they've been like hitting more, this is like my strong Pokemon, so I keep it
Yeah.
with me.
I like
um
that.
but
That's a
you
good way to do that.
yeah, you can play with your Pokemon in the picnics. Like there are
Mhm.
toys you can
Yeah.
throw a ball, and then I think there's another toy. I can't quite remember. It's been a while, and this picnic feature is an evolution of camps, which was an evolution of something, which was an evolution of Pokemon and Me. So like first it was just like feeding and like petting your Pokemon. Then they added like um, stuff to like clean up your Pokemon, like brushes and a hair
Mhm.
dryer. I always loved hair drying my Crab Brawler after any battle because he would use a water move and he's like, I'm wet. I'm like, it's your water. But I just sit there and blow dry him. And then we got the camps in Sword and Shield, and those also had a ball, but it was like Sword and Shield. The camera was like pointed straight out to the camp, um, and then like one would come up to you. I don't know. It felt a little weird because it's trying to copy what the old games did, but make it the whole team. And then this one zooms out, and you're still playing like you play the rest of the game. I think it feels more natural in that sense.
Natural.
I
Yeah.
wish you could like zoom in and like really focus on one and do all the same stuff, which I guess there are some methods. I don't know if those are new because of the DLC or if they've always been there and I just kind of forgot. But yeah, it's there are other things than just like going and feeding them sandwiches to do in the camp. But then as far as outside of picnic, not camp, outside of picnic, I think it really just is like having them on your party, keeping them fully healed, just yeah, having them walk with you.
Mhm.
So, and it's one of those things I never like really looked up the exact mechanics for because I love the like playground esque wonder of not knowing. Like, does always making sure they're like fully healed or like mostly healed help? Like, if you kept them in the red, does that even affect it? Probably not, but I like to pretend it does.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, what's your team now? Have you or not necessarily your team, but like what ones have you
Yeah.
bonded to? You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me take a gander here because right now the team I'm working with has a few mainstays and
Mm-hmm.
then some that I've just kind of been switching around and that kind of thing. But as far as my main guys, that has been my right now he's still a Pomo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's Pamela, nickname Pamela. That's my only nickname so far in the game. I haven't come up with any other nicknames,
Oh,
but I
really?
like that one. Yeah, I like that one though. And then of course Meowscarada,
Mm-hmm.
level 57 currently. Oh, Pamela's at 51. And then I have a Gyarados,
Oh,
It's
classic.
48. Yeah, you kind of gotta if you're of a certain generation, you kind of have to have a Gyarados. And then I got a Cacnea that
Of
I
course.
have hanging on to an Everstone.
Yeah.
So he's at level 50 now. Um, and then Arcanine, who is at 47. He's kind of one of the guys I'll kind of go in and out with just if I need some firepower.
Yeah.
And then a Gothitelle, it's at 45. That gal I'm probably gonna switch out anytime now. I mostly just had her on because I wanted to uh, have a psychic for
Yeah.
for a moment, but I don't tend to do much with psychic, so I don't even know why I did that one. I think that I wanted to see if I enjoyed having one in my party more than um, my only experience had been Pokemon Go, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, this is kind of dumb, like because I had high hopes for how ridiculous like the design could get. Because
Hmm.
starting with is it Gotharita? What's the first one of that? Um,
I,
or
it might be Gotharita. It's the little baby goth
yeah,
girl. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and she's got like the big bow that
Hmm.
at most angles just looks like big old boobies. But yeah, I thought that was just such a ridiculous, silly design. I wanted to see like what else would happen with it. And it's fine. I was kind of hoping it would be some kind of powerhouse. I'm like, oh
Hmm.
well, I gotta have this. It hasn't been.
No.
But maybe I'm also just not great with psychic type, so I haven't really used it to its full capacity.
Um,
That's my team so far.
Now, not to get too into meta, but have you noticed that some Pokemon have a higher attack and some have a higher special attack?
Not noticeably, no.
Okay, yeah. So some
I
Pokemon,
haven't.
because there are special and physical attacks, and so
Mhm.
like with psychics, they usually have better special attack.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be a thing, but also, yeah, just not that great of a Pokemon in my experience compared to
Mhm.
other three line or three stage psychics.
Yeah.
Um, but a really ridiculous thing about that design is you would think it has long legs and like a long dress, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't. Its legs are very stubby. That dress is like mostly filled in with like meat body.
So you see Gothita without a dress at some point? Or
No, it's just
Gothitelle?
like
Gothitelle?
I've seen it fallen over and at different angles. And yeah, it's just got real stubby little feet coming out of there.
That is ridiculous, and I think I like it.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. So I'm curious though, have you seen the fire grass type Pokemon?
Let's see. A fire grass type. I don't know if
Since
I've
you're the
come across
plant
that.
daddy.
I don't know if I've come across a fire grass yet. Which would that be? Is there an example you have off the top?
There is only one.
There's
So I don't
just
want
one.
to spoil it because I feel like
Well,
you'll
what
like
if I
it.
have seen it and I just didn't even know that that was the case with it? Please tell me.
Okay, well, it is like a two peppers.
Oh, you told me about this one
Oh,
before.
did I?
I have not. Yes, on another episode of the show.
Okay.
But I haven't come across it yet. Looking forward to it though, because that
Yeah.
is a like that's an interesting design. I
Yeah,
I
because
want one.
fire's a good type to have on your team, I'd say.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's probably the best offensive type for just like as far as pros and cons go with type like weaknesses and such. Um, but yeah, so I feel like you'll like that. So you've been working through gyms and then some of the rival stuff and then Arlen's whole thing, which is pretty different than any Pokemon game before that. Like three paths and you choose which one to kind of focus on. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, those have been things like you've always had a rival. You've always had some type of like bad guy to go after, and then
Yeah.
gyms. You've mostly had one game kind of switched it up, but it is pretty different in this game. How have you been? Excuse me. How have you been enjoying that? Like the gym leaders, you get a little taste of who they are. I feel, but not too much. And then like Arlen's thing, you really get to know him and like turn around from like oh this little shit to like oh this poor dog, and then like
Yeah.
oh this poor kid without a parent.
Yeah.
How
No,
how have you been enjoying those?
yeah, I've been enjoying like the approach that the game has and the approach that the game encourages, which is simply like, follow your own path
Mm-hmm.
kind of idea. I like that. I really like that you don't have to declare a major, essentially.
Oh yeah.
Like, I like that. I like that at any point you can abandon whatever you're doing and go do something else.
Yeah.
That is very appealing to me. So, big fan of that. And I think that every path kind of has its own um, perks as far as what will draw me to it. Like, well, obviously with like the Titan thing, I was mostly motivated to get the skills for the how is it pronounced? Is it Agius? Agius? I don't know. It's the guy that you're riding around on, the
Oh,
Pokemon. I don't know how to pronounce it, but
shoot. Yeah, I forgot.
I don't know if
Uh,
it's Agius or Agius. I mean, I know how to spell it, but um,
well,
anyway,
there's
the
kind of a
thing that you
pun
ride
to
around
it,
on.
isn't there?
Oh, is it?
I
I had no
believe
idea.
so. I know the middle one is Cyclizar. Yeah, because they're motorcycles. So I thought that was a part of
Yeah,
their name or. Oh man, you keep talking. I'll figure it out.
sure, sure. But that was my main motivation. But then once I really got a sense of this whole um, Mastiff boss. I don't remember how it's pronounced, but that was very gripping. I thought that was a very sweet storyline, and it's still going, so maybe it'll get me even more. Um, but I think the silliest has been the star battles. Obviously,
Hmm.
I've really enjoyed those. Um, uh, let's see. Oh, I think my favorite aspect so far of the gym battles has been, in particular, the soundtrack when they go into uh, like terraform or the Terra thing.
Yeah, I think that was a song composed by Toby Fox, who did, if not all, most of the music for Undertale.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's a kick-ass melody. Like it's really, really good. Um, and I feel even more bummed out that some of those battles have taken like they've gone by so fast. I don't get to enjoy that last portion because a
Hmm.
lot of times I'll knock them out in one move when they're already in that last form, and it's all right. I didn't even get to enjoy that sweet song. Other than like, I think the first two gym battles maybe took the longest so far, and even those weren't very long battles. I just mean relatively speaking, they
Yeah.
were like normal battles. And then everyone since then has just been super fast.
So Corey, I have it up. It is Koraidon. Is that?
Oh, so is that maybe just his nickname that they say, or oh, you're right. It is Koraidon. He says the word Agius, and that's why hit like the Pokemon dialogue.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
So
guess they did
that
nickname him. I think.
I don't even think
Yeah.
that's a nickname. I think that's just the noise he makes because you know how like it'll give
Mm.
like their noises that they're making like
Oh
as
yeah.
dialogue.
When he
That is
cries
what I
out.
had confused in my head as Aggius because like when you feed him and stuff like in those um when you're doing the picnics with him um and you decide to give him a sandwich um he'll say like Aggius. At
He
least that's how I pretend he sounds.
he's known as the Winged King. Winged King. Gosh, I can't say that.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
it should be winged kinged.
yeah.
Missing.
Um, but yeah, the name it is a pun. Koraidon. What was it? Korai, I think, meaning like, or there's what is it? Let me look here. It was
I
like a
assumed it was like a portmanteau of something like, and then dawn. I think of like a dinosaur. Like,
yeah, something like
yeah.
that. Yeah, I don't have it here, but it is something that's like a portmanteau of like ancient dinosaur Koraidon.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think the core is also something like it's a little bit more clever than just making it sound like a dinosaur. I remember.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of Pokemon names are like that. Like there might be something a little more clever, and then some are just like Hydrapple, which are like, oh, okay, that's not much,
Yeah.
but it's cool, I guess.
And then sometimes it's the only one that it could be, like Bulbasaur. That is a perfect name. It's a
Yes.
dinosaur with a bulb on its back. It's Bulbasaur. That's perfect. No notes.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's perfect.
Some are awful, like Clink, the little gears from fifth gen. So,
Yeah.
but can't all
Yeah.
be bangers.
They cannot all be bangers.
So, has there been any like surprises about the game, like that you just didn't expect to be like in a Pokemon game or from Pokemon, like anything like that? Just since you haven't played the games in so long.
Surprises. I'm not sure if I've come across any like real surprises.
Like sometimes I'm
Nothing.
surprised by like the dark themes in some things.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I haven't come across that so much yet. Um, hmm.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I'm kind of drawing a blank there for anything that would have surprised me, other than just like it's all new. So I guess in some aspect it's all kind of surprising, but not in
Yeah.
like didn't think they'd do that. All of it has felt very natural. Um,
It is pretty cohesive of an experience, I think. So it's like not much will be jarring
yeah,
unless you've done so much of Pokemon like I have that like something
yeah,
feels out of place. So I guess it makes sense that like it all melds well together. Even the stuff that like might surprise me won't necessarily because it still melds well. It's just like when a Pokemon actually is like described as dead, like for me that's kind of shocking because I'm like, oh, this is so rare. They don't do this very often.
when has that happened in the game?
So I think it does happen in Red and Blue that there's Pokemon described as dead. Because there's the whole like
I'm thinking of
cemetery.
like, yeah, I'm thinking of like that and like the, like so we're. I guess what I'm saying is I was already aware of that. I was thinking this was a new sort of plot point that was maybe introduced as far as a dead Pokemon. So it's not just a matter of like, all right, and then they're ghosts. It's like
Oh,
that's used to that.
I think there have been some small various points where they'll like mention a Pokemon dying. It's super rare. The biggest one that stands out for me is the show, anyways. A
Yeah.
Luxray dying. That was like heartbreaking, actually. Um, but yeah, so in the game, oh man, and it was my example. I should know of one, but nothing is like sticking out right now. There's just so
Oh,
much.
I guess one thing that kind of has surprised me, and not so much, like a big like, wow, I can't believe they would go there, but more so to the extent that it keeps happening is these descriptions in Jacqueline just brought me the mixer. She's making cookies in the other
Oh,
room, so she brought the
the
mixer for the dough
yeah.
that I am gonna snack on a little bit as I keep talking here.
Oh yeah, just
Um, but no, when the descriptions are very dark
yes, yeah, for
of
like ghost types.
like dark souls and stuff um like when the explanation for how a Pokemon exists is directly correlated to like people dying,
Mm-hmm.
like a lost soul in the desert, and now there's a soul in this little tumbleweed, and now it's a Pokemon. Like that continues to surprise me in a very delightful way, like every
Yeah,
time it happens.
I
But
mean,
it's yeah,
it seems dark, but when you think about it, it's like in our world, people just die. At
yeah,
least here, that it's gone on to a new existence.
yeah. And the other reason that also doesn't surprise me is an obvious one, which is like um, just the nature of Japanese folklore.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really a foreign concept,
No.
like having wandering and lost souls that like interacting with our world as
Yeah.
much. So I'm not really surprised by that as a concept. More so, and this is uh, been well discussed. Whenever like dark topics happen in kids shows, it always makes you think like, oh, and I can't believe they did this in a kids show. But it's a little bit of that too. I mean, this is a kids game, and like you're going to
Hmm.
introduce that stuff. It's a little jarring at times to be like reminded, like, oh yeah, all right.
I feel like in that sense of kids, though, it's like a very easy way to get into that topic because it's never like, oh, and then when someone's head gets cut off, it's like,
Yeah.
you are aware that things die, so we'll just briefly mention that. What I think is funny is like, yes, yokai are very tied to like spirits of the dead. That's a pretty normal thing. But in Japanese mythology, there are just like things that become alive because reasons like, oh, you've used this hairbrush for 1,000 years and it has
I
now
love that.
like become a thing. And like, I feel Pokemon does that less now just because it is like a global audience and it's just easier to be like, yeah, spirit instead of
Hmm. Spirit.
just like
Yeah.
it came alive. But there are some that I think just like have grown a conscious because of something. But like you look at like Shuppet when she's like a possessed doll.
Hmm.
Actually, maybe Shuppet isn't even possessed because
No, he's not possessed. It was
yeah, it
like
just is.
discarded.
Yeah,
Like
so
it's yeah.
that is a doll that just became alive, because
Hmm.
of the like bad feelings.
Hmm.
Um, and it's still ghost type, but something to remember that they like even establish in Pokemon is like ghost type Pokemon does not mean dead or unalive always because there's a ghost water type and the Pokedex says it's only really ghost type because it can actually like go through things because it can like kind of turn in water in such a way that lets it just like meld through objects. So it's very ghost like, but that's it. So like you have to try to think of it from a biology standpoint. Like yes, they're not always ghosts. It's just that's the closest thing they can associate out of the 18 types.
Yeah.
So,
That makes sense.
yeah, yeah. Have there been any particular designs that you've latched onto? Like you mentioned the plant and stuff, but like any designs you thought were kind of out there? Because you come from a mainly Digimon background, and so I imagine through Pokemon Go and through all this, you've kind of noticed a lot of Pokemon are very like round and cartoon version of animals. But anything that's just like, oh, this didn't seem like the
Yeah.
normal Pokemon.
Yeah. Let me take a look.
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing. If you can vamp on something, I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
find some here that have been catching my eye because
Yeah.
I'm positive there have been some. Well, I mean, right off the bat, I mean, I love the design for Meowscarada.
Yes.
I think it's so cool. Like that's a cool design. Like, um, I mean, and maybe this is my Digimon bias coming through, but it looks very Digimon.
Yeah. Well, it
um,
does, and it is
yeah,
very
it's
different than
extremely
Pokemon.
Digimon.
Uh,
Hmm.
I can definitely vamp on this because I think this is an interesting thing. Starter designs at a point started becoming more humanoid in their evolutions, which like a lot of people didn't like. And I mean, the whole like people not liking starters really started when they kept giving firefighting types and like became a trope almost and people just weren't happy with it, and then the starters are clearly now just always going to be like based around a theme and probably humanoid. So in Sword and Shield, they were fairly humanoid and they all had some type of like just pop culture British theme. Like we had the James Bond, and then we had the drummer, and oh gosh, what was the soccer player? So that was like a loose theme, but there. But this theme, I like more. They're directly entertainers. We've got Masquerada, which is the like magician, like stage magic. We've got Skeldridge, which is like a singer performer. He's got the like vest, and he's cool. He's my favorite. And then we've got Quaxley's final form.
Which is absurd. It is the
Yes,
silliest Pokemon design that I think they've done.
it's
It's
so gay.
it is so gay. It is the kind of gay that it just it makes you wonder, is there something to prejudice? Maybe they're onto something. Maybe we should be just a little prejudiced towards. And this is coming from a queer person,
Yes.
but that is quite a gay design. And it's not even just the outfit; it is the constant. Well, let's call it what it is. It's pussyfooting.
Yeah.
He's doing a little pussyfooting. You know, it's so silly, but I also love it.
I do too.
Um, it's great because I feel like it's such a well, it's a glow up, truly,
Yeah.
because you start with this little twink, but like that Quaxley is just, I mean,
Just like
it's
flipping
so
its hair and
exactly, he's got a little sass, and then you see that intermediate, with was it Quaxwell? Is that what the second one? It's like Quax, I
yes,
don't even remember.
Quaxwell.
Um, that feels kind of like, you know, uh like figuring out some stuff in high school. you know, he's,
Yeah.
but he's not ready to come out yet. He's,
No,
he's
no.
not ready. No, no, no. But,
Denying
but once he
actively.
gets to college and he gets into the theater program that he's been working towards, and he just lets it out. Like that is the full realization of this man. I'm so happy for him. Like I'm so happy for him. But wow, like he's really over the top.
I'm looking at his design right now, and he's got like his little duck feet have a strap around the ankle, like ballet shoes or like loafers. Like, how can you
It's
make
it's
duck feet
wonderful.
queer?
It's so wonderful.
Yeah, they. I love how they just like dweeb out the middle designs a lot of the time, and they did
Mm-hmm.
an excellent job on this one. I feel like the middle for the grass, Florgato, is just cool. Like it's
Oh yeah,
what I feel like they couldn't make it a dweeb because one stage magic already gets picked on enough. Um, and
yeah,
the personality of this whole line just I felt didn't have it in it. So they're like, well, we'll just make a cool one, and they
yeah,
nailed it. And it's
yeah,
what I'm surprised by is it's cool without being just a smaller Masquerada. You know, like
yeah.
it has design elements of its own with the like really big like chest scarf. You know, that's not quite the same. Masquerada it just has the like gesture ribbons and then like a collar. Like a very Masquerada somehow has like old English gesture elements without being a total dork.
Oh yeah. No, it's
Um,
it's so like it's showbiz. Like it feels fabulous in a way that um the Quacks. What's the final form? Because it's
oh man,
Quaxley, Quaxwell,
can I
Quax
say it?
something.
Quaxaquavel?
Sure. Let's go with that. But like they're both fabulous, but one is so much more flamboyantly fabulous, where Masquerada has a little more dignity. Like I,
Yes.
I think that is what's going on there. Just a shred more dignity. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. The design language of Pokemon from this generation, I think, are really good. I think they've brought it to the next level, where like every shape in a Pokemon's design lends to the aspect of what they're trying to go for. Because with the two you said, like yes, they have a theme of like what they're trying to go for, being the like show business, but the personality is different, and like that's through subtle little things. Quaxaquel is very round and has so many bits, to whereas Masquerada is very sharp. The round points are few and far between, and they usually end in a sharp point, anyways. Like you've got the paws, well, those claws come out. The only like real round thing is the thing hovering around it, which isn't even attached to it. So it shows just like a detachment from anything soft and
Yeah.
round. Everything else is sharp and angular,
And it's
and
magic. It's
yeah.
magic that you're constantly aware of
Mm-hmm.
when there's like the illusion that's happening. I love that. I think
I,
it's just so cool.
I love that it is the illusion of magic too, because I believe it's not floating around it. It's like there are strings or something, like
Hmm.
canonically.
Yeah.
So it, you know, in a world of magical creatures, this is a Pokemon that uses practical magic, which I
Yeah.
love. I did a D&D
Yeah.
podcast once because you have to as a podcaster. And my character,
Yeah.
Tilp, she did stage magic despite being in a world of magic. She was a rogue because she had sleight of hand stuff for stage magic.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And I love that gimmick that it's like stage magic can be cool and have it, maybe not cool, Masquerada makes it cool, but it can have its place and not seem redundant in a world of magic. So
Well, I think you touched on something there for a moment where you're like, stage magic, it isn't always cool, and that is why I feel like a character like Masquerada is so impressive to me because it manages to find itself on the cool side of the
mhm.
magic spectrum. Because you're right, it is like it's tough to make that look cool. And I love magic. Like
Yeah.
I'm a
Oh yeah.
magic enthusiast. Like I love the history of it and all that stuff. But it can be extremely dorky. Like that's just part and parcel with
Yeah, yeah.
magic. So it's so cool when they manage to make it work.
And it's wild that they gave this Pokemon a collar, gesture like spikes. Like there are so
Mhm.
many things in its design that if you were to ask a character designer to add but still make it cool would be really hard. Be like, can you give it a big old flower like collar? And it's like absolutely not. I can't make it cool and have flower
Yeah,
petals around its neck. But they did. And
they
that's
did.
and I think part of it is because you see it in context. You see it in the context of other Pokemon.
Mhm.
So that leans it to still be able to have a cool presence about it. But then you're also comparing it next to a fucking fire alligator that has like, a very clear like skull motif, and yet it's still cool also. So it's
Mhm.
like, context and comparison isn't everything for it. It just cool design.
Absolutely. Well,
Um,
we have a little more time left. Do you have any other pressing questions? I know you have been following up about if I've met a certain individual in the game, whose name escapes me now. I have met him.
Larry.
Um, Larry. There, thank you. Um, Easiest match that I had had it to that point.
Yeah.
And it was also like the most disappointing in that sense. It's just the battle itself. I really thought that the character of Larry was a fun like way to do a gym leader. I thought that
Yes.
was really he's just like such an average guy. I was expecting more though. Like I was expecting them to do something unexpected. Like I thought that they were kind of doing a bait and switch because he's the what is the nickname, like the exceptional everyman or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought that he was going to really knock me for a loop. Basically, I thought that I was supposed to think that he's going to be really easy. He's just this kind of beaten down guy. He's just an average Joe. I thought he was going to come out swinging, or come out like mediocre to begin with and then come out swinging.
Mm.
Neither of those things happened. It
Yeah.
was just it was a slaughter. But
The difficulty curve is kind of skewed by that point. A
yeah,
lot of people are like, why, if we can challenge gym leaders in any order theoretically, why aren't they like level scaled in some way?
and I thought they would be. I thought that everything was going to be like that kind of in the game of like, all right, regardless of when I go to this point in the game, they're just going to base whatever those stats are based on what my team is. I
Yeah.
thought it was always going to be like somewhat to where I was,
I don't think it'll ever be team related, but gym badges at least, because
Yeah.
even canonically in the like anime and stuff, we'll see gym leaders use different teams based off the badge count that a trainer has, like to match
Mhm.
scale. And it's like, wow, why not here?
Yeah.
Especially because we're students, we need to be challenged.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
So
another minor complaint I had just on the topic of gym leaders here is um, I guess I would just like more um, obvious is kind of the harsh word for it, but like more appropriate Pokemon choices for the gym leaders teams.
oh.
For example, I felt like the electric leaders team,
Hmm.
they were almost like all basically just technically electric Pokemon. Like there wasn't anything that was like, oh, this is an electric Pokemon coming at me right now. It was all stuff that kind of had an electric element ish.
I
I
think
just wanted a little more on the theme, you know.
yeah, so some of the struggle is they want to give new Pokemon a priority when it comes to teams. But I think with her, it's kind of fitting because she's not the electric gym leader first. She is a streamer who
Streamer.
also happens to
Yeah.
be the electric gym leader.
Yeah.
Um, I've been told that the DLC has a lot more interaction with the gym leaders.
Oh,
Because, like, you get to learn about the teachers a lot in this game, but you don't get to learn a lot about the gym leaders. As to, in older games, I feel like you got a little bit more just because you spend more time in each area, I guess. And then in Scarlet, or I'm sorry, in Sword and Shield, the gym leaders are also like the Elite Four because there's no Elite Four. It's like a tournament of the strongest gym leaders. And so you got more personality in Sword and Shield, or you got more time and just got to really see the gym leaders thrive a little more. So I'm excited for that in the DLC. I'll probably play on a little trip I have coming up because I can't be productive the whole time. um, and then I can play with you and we can have magical picnics.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and then we'll have another episode of the Digipod Pokecast. But Larry, I love because he just so doesn't want to be there, which is almost
Yeah.
appropriate that he was a slaughter. But there's always more Larry magic to discover, and you'll see that.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that then.
But yeah, I don't know. He's just so different than any gym leader, like you said. Yeah, like such a different approach. All of them are really interesting, I think, because
Yes.
they're not always gym focused. Like
Mhm.
we've had gym leaders that had side jobs and stuff before in the past. But in Sword and Shield, it really was their main focus because, for one, there can only be 8 gyms, and so the difference between Sword and Shield was in one location it's either a fighting gym or a ghost gym, and in canon the difference is one of them was just better this season. Like they have a competition, and so
Oh,
the
that's
ghost
cool.
boy didn't make the cut, so instead you get the fighting gym. I think that's very interesting, but that means like that is their focus and their life for the most part. It's like Olympic almost. It's the type of dedication you canonically have when it comes to that. To whereas here, it's more like, okay, well, every region needs a gym circuit, and the school's really big here. This is how we support that, but it's not like our life.
Which
Which
I think is a cooler way to do it. Like, I
yes,
like that you get not an adversarial tone from any of
hmm
the leaders so far, anyway. It's all been very, like, supportive and just
yes,
like, yeah, come on, let's do this. We want to battle you. Like, I like that. Like, it's fun to be reminded that you're like a student at the school and this is all very structured
yes.
in its lack of structure, even like
hmm
it's very supportive, and I don't know, it's
It
very comforting.
What I really like is in the last 3 generations, it feels very thought out. It's not just there because that's how Pokemon games are. So here, yeah, it's unstructured, but like it feels like the school has put a lot of thought into this, knows what it's doing, has set this up. Like it feels traditional, established. Same with Sword and Shield. It feels very established. Like you're not seeing it build up. And then in the generation before that, Sun and Moon, it doesn't, but that's thematic. Like they are building the gym. They don't even have gyms. They have trials, which those feel like they're grounded in the culture, but then they just build the Elite Four, and that feels that way. I don't know. It's very cohesive, and it makes it more than just something in the game to do. It makes it part of the world. It's
Yeah.
like your story weaves through it, but it feels like there's greater story and greater things that are part of that world building, and it's just really good.
Oh yeah, and I just can't wait to learn more about that story.
Yeah.
It's been a hoot, but this has been a hoot as well.
It
I just got
has.
to ask you now, is there a Digimon you like?
Is there a Digimon I like? Wow, I wasn't prepared. I,
That's
I
why I wanted to ask you.
I typically am. I even looked up like Digimon News, and they're doing a collab with a phone game.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
So there's our Digimon news.
Yeah, token Digimon news.
Um, I have so many Digimon I love, but I don't want to just like pull one of those off the top of my head without doing a quick skim of everything. Um,
Well, while you're looking at that,
yeah,
I'll tell you a Pokemon I
yeah.
like
Let's
because
hear
I already
a
have that
Corey
ready in the
Pokemon.
barrel. I like Bramble. I think Bramble's a
Yes.
really fun little design. I haven't evolved one yet. I came across the evolved form. I don't even remember what it was called. Um, but yeah, I think that's a really cool um, and just inventive. Like, if there's anything that is surprising me about this game, as well as just the franchise in general, I'm surprised that I do continue to be surprised by some of the inventiveness of the designs. Like that, of course, there hasn't been a tumbleweed Pokemon yet. Like
Hmm.
just like those little things. That's been a nice surprise.
I,
So, what did you find a Digimon you like?
I did. I've really been wanting to play Digimon World 3 again. And it's maybe not a real Digimon, I guess, but it's something that really stuck with me. And it's Cardmon. It's a Digimon you go around finding trees, I believe. It's just a little ball. And it's either like yellow, black, or blue on top. And it's either like split in half or wavy. It's very Pokeball feeling, but then it has various arrangements of cards floating around it, and it's how you get cards for the card game, which is in my in my memory pretty fun actually.
Yeah,
So yeah, little Cardmon is for me. So we both
love it.
picked little round boys.
Fantastic. Well,
uh,
this has been a lot of fun. Do you have any parting thoughts on Scarlet and the goings on?
Oh, you know what? I have to play the DLC, but I've heard it's very good, best ever, and that adds a lot more. So I'm excited. But also, we're getting to that age where the next game announcements are probably going to be next year, and I just want to say, as much as a Pokemon fan as I am, you may not know it because of the show, but I do have a lot of like criticism to its Game Freak and where they're at. And I just want to tell everyone, hey, pick up your spirits because they're stuck in the Nintendo building. So I'm pretty confident that the next game is going to be good. Good for people who aren't so enamored by Pokemon like us, playing Scarlet and Violet, that it's just a blast regardless. I'll always have fun. But yeah, I just want to say I'm very excited about that.
No,
And
I'm excited too.
I'm also excited about Pal World getting better. If anyone was going to try to come at me and be like, oh, are you one of those Pal haters? No. I like more fun games. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
There's the pull quote.
Yeah. Corey, any last words? We've got several seconds.
No, no, I think that just about does it. But we hope you've enjoyed these ramblings, these bramble rambles,
Yeah.
and you keep on poking in the digital world. Bye bye.